They called it the Vault of Tomorrow. A black monolith of code, born from years of cryptographic obsession. Unbreakable, they said. Investors hailed it. Banks installed it. Governments whispered about adopting it. But every wall casts a shadow. In that shadow, unseen hands waited, not to smash the wall, but to find the hinge. When a viral ad claimed, "Impossible to breach," one woman replayed it again and again, hearing not a boast, but a challenge. And somewhere deep in the web's underbelly, that same ad became a beacon, the spark that drew predators to prey. In a world obsessed with guarantees, Unbreakable was irresistible. Every bank, defense contractor, and cloud provider wanted a piece. Behind the headlines, Maya's inbox pinged. An encrypted tip from an anonymous address. It broke. Don't believe the ad. No attachments, no details. Just those 4 words and a file name she'd never seen before. While the press celebrated, Lena's night was routine chaos. Backups, patch logs, and caffeine. She'd seen the new Vault integration come online weeks ago, flawless so far. But tonight, one line blinked red for half a second before resetting. Routine, she thought. She didn't know that in that blink, the heist had quietly begun. Dr. Patel, the architect, stood in front of reporters, his voice steady but eyes betraying exhaustion. He'd spent half his life proving that math could end uncertainty. But behind the PR smiles were urgent emails from internal testers unanswered. Deadlines had silenced doubt. And doubt, in security, is oxygen. And far from the applause, Elias Moreno, alias Echo, watched from his neon den. He wasn't a hacker in the mythic sense. He was a broker of curiosity. When he saw the Unbreakable claim, he grinned. Because in his world, absolute claims don't invite belief. They invite bids. It began with a transfer nobody should have authorized. At 2:17 a.m., a small but significant sum left a corporate vault. Logs marked it as admin. Routine enough to dismiss at first glance. Yet, the timing was impossible. No one should have had access. The seed of doubt sprouted quietly, unnoticed, like a hairline fracture in concrete. Lena hesitated. That red flag could be nothing, or it could be everything. For a moment, she froze. Knowing one wrong click might alert the entire system, she typed cautiously, double-checking timestamps and IP addresses. Somewhere inside, she felt the weight of a choice she didn't fully understand. Spectre watched silently. Outside the firewall, beyond surveillance cameras and human attention, they traced patterns of movement. The vault wasn't unbreakable. It was predictable if you understood the humans guarding it. And Spectre understood humans better than most understood code. Maya traced the anomaly from her newsroom, female, 34, as if following a faint scent across the city. The timestamps, the server pings, the tiny irregularities. They formed a map only a relentless mind could follow. Every clue whispered, someone overlooked the obvious. Detective Rafiq Noor, male, 42, leaned back in his office chair, analyzing the same logs. Officially, nothing was amiss. Practically, the alarm bells rang softly. Quiet inquiries, phone calls, and careful digital surveillance. This was a crime nobody had yet realized had begun. Inside the vendor's ivory tower, the Davy teams spoke of formal proofs, encryption, algorithms, and flawless logic. Outside, frontline operators whispered about workarounds, patch gaps, and night shifts that ignored alerts. Security wasn't just code. It was the chain of trust, and cracks appeared not in silicon but in human hesitation. Lena confided in a colleague, female 27, over encrypted chat. She had skipped a routine test script, pressured by time, fatigue, and hierarchy. A single checkbox unchecked. A simple decision. and yet the chain of events it triggered would spiral beyond comprehension. Elias Moreno, male, 29, watched forum chatter turn into breadcrumbs, metadata hints of a vendor sync, server pings, timing anomalies. He didn't touch the code, he sold information, curiosity, and temptation. Every whispered clue multiplied the risk. Every rumor, a coin in his hidden ledger. Dr. Patel publicly dismissed the possibility of compromise, his speeches polished and confident. Privately, he pressed for audits, reviewing every line of code, every access log. Pride battled doubt, and for the first time, he feared that human error, not cryptography, might be the true threat. Maya, female, 34, traced the threads together, the skipped scripts, the overlooked alerts, the whispers in forums. The breach wasn't a single stroke of genius. It was a chain of human decisions, small and seemingly inconsequential, that created an invisible ladder to the system's heart. The timeline reconstructed later would seem calm, almost boring. A siphon trickling funds over weeks, each transfer below the radar. No alarms, no explosions of code, just quiet, patient movement. A trickle disguised as routine, orchestrated with precision only human oversight could allow. The logs revealed a disturbing truth. Credential reuse, automated scripts, and trusted APIs turned into gateways. No firewall could stop it. The system hadn't failed. Its guardians had. It was human predictability, amplified by trust, that opened the door. Spectre executed a diversion from a safe location, gender-neutral, late 20s, in shadows. While alerts triggered elsewhere, the real siphon flowed silently. And in another city, Elias Moreno, male, 29, smiled at his terminal, selling the illusion, profiting from panic before it existed. And then Lena realized her earlier ignored alert was the hinge. A single hesitation had allowed the siphon to continue undetected. Panic flickered across her face as she downloaded copies of logs to a secure drive, understanding she now held both evidence and potential disaster in her hands. Maya, female, 34, confronted the vendor spokesperson on camera, her voice steady, questions pointed while the world watched. The myth of unbreakable security was crumbling, not in code, but in trust, in oversight, and in human error. Headlines would soon scream, but tonight, the first light of truth had pierced the illusion. Markets wobbled, stocks dipped, and whispers became headlines. The vault, once lauded as unbreakable, was suddenly exposed as a cautionary tale. Investors panicked, analysts scrambled, and the world realized that the illusion of perfection had been shattered by small human oversights. Detective Rafiq Noor, male, 42, methodical and skeptical, began tracing the money trail. Intermediaries surfaced, dark web wallets, laundering schemes, and offshore accounts. Complexity was his ally and his curse. Every new lead pointed to Elias. Every thread led back to human error. Dr. Arun Patel, male, 47, Indian, faced the unraveling of his life's work. Congressional hearings, press scrutiny, and whispered accusations forced him to confront a painful truth. Deadlines and human shortcuts had paved the way for disaster. Elias Moreno, male, 29, felt his empire wobble. Buyers and competitors sensed vulnerability. Deals collapsed. Whispers of betrayal echoed in encrypted forums. His charm and manipulation were no longer enough to control the narrative. The system he had exploited turned on him in subtle but undeniable ways. Lena Salim, female, 26, wrestled with a choice. Leak the full logs to Maya, female, 34, or hand them to law enforcement. Every option carried risk, legal, professional, ethical. She stared at the blinking cursor, aware that one decision could ripple across the globe. Lena Salim sat alone in the dim glow of her operations room, the USB drive heavy in her hand, as if it carried the weight of the world. She replayed every decision, The alert she ignored, the scripts she bypassed, the moments she hesitated. Each one a domino that led to millions siphoned quietly, almost invisibly, over weeks. She knew she could go public with Maya Khan, giving the journalist the proof to expose not just the breach, but the systemic failures, the human errors, and the culture of rushed deadlines and overlooked warnings that enabled it. Yet turning over the evidence to authorities risked arrests, personal scrutiny, and a legal nightmare. She drew in a shaky breath, fingers tightening on the drive. In the silence, she realized this was more than data. It was a test of conscience, a moral crucible. Spectre, gender-neutral, vanished into the night with surgical precision. Their absence was deliberate. No one could trace the source of the siphon after weeks of quiet, patient movement. Motive was fragmented, almost inscrutable. Ideology, exposure, the thrill of outsmarting the human element. In encrypted channels, whispers suggested that Spectre's true goal wasn't profit, but proof that the unbreakable system was only as strong as the humans guarding it. Meanwhile, Lena wrestled with her conscience. Maya compiled the fragments she had, and the world outside remained oblivious to the invisible trail that Spectre had carved, a digital ghost leaving chaos in its wake without ever touching the surface systems directly. Detective Rafiq Noor, male, methodical, and patient, now had Lena's logs in hand, anonymized but detailed enough to trace the siphon. Using these breadcrumbs, he orchestrated a sting operation to capture a money mule, following digital fingerprints across borders, through layered intermediaries, and into shadow accounts. Every phone ping, IP pop, and blockchain transfer told a story of human error and opportunistic manipulation. Noor understood that the system itself hadn't failed. Humans had. He knew, too, that even with arrests, the root cause wouldn't vanish. Policies, culture, and small, overlooked choices were invisible exploits, and they would outlast any one investigation if not exposed. Dr. Arun Patel, Indian, faced ruin. The public hearings were relentless. He had to admit what he had long feared in private. The vault, his life's work, had not failed because of code, encryption, or math. It had failed because humans had been overlooked. Deadlines had overridden caution, hierarchy had stifled questions, and small choices made by Lena and others had combined into a perfect storm. On camera, he spoke with humility and shame, acknowledging the invisible vulnerabilities, the underestimated human element, and the lessons painfully learned. The applause for his courage was muted, overshadowed by headlines, financial losses, and fractured trust. Elias Moreno, cornered by law enforcement and rival buyers, finally confessed partially he hadn't written a single line of code, hadn't breached a firewall himself. He had sold temptation, curated the breadcrumbs, and profited from human flaws. His charm and bravado faltered under scrutiny. Across the city, Maya published a detailed exposé combining Lena's proof, Spectre's trail, and Elias's admissions. The world saw not just a heist, but a mirror reflecting how systems touted as unbreakable fail because of human oversight. The story wasn't just about money. It was about trust, error, and the moral reckoning that followed when humans proved fallible against their own constructs. Legal outcomes arrived unevenly. Some arrests were made, some fines imposed, and a few executives faced professional ruin. But justice wasn't clean or complete. Lena Salim, female, remained in the shadows. Her decision to provide proof anonymized her identity, protecting her career and safety. Elias Moreno, male, faced partial prosecution, his empire fractured but still afloat in hidden corners of the darknet. Dr. Arun Patel, male, endured scrutiny, congressional hearings, and public shame. Yet even mid punishments, the most enduring lesson was clear. Human trust, not hardware or software, had been the unguarded gateway. Across the tech industry, the Vault incident forced introspection. Policies were rewritten, checklists enforced, and awareness campaigns launched to address the human element in cybersecurity. Lena quietly began contributing to grassroots, operational safety initiatives, mentoring younger sysadmins, and sharing lessons learned without revealing identities. Organizations realized that no encryption, no firewall, and no monitoring tool could compensate for fatigue, oversight, and decision-making errors. The human factor was the ultimate vulnerability. Maya Khan, female, published a comprehensive exposé combining evidence from Lena, testimonies from insiders, and Elias's partial confession. The story reshaped public perception of cybersecurity myths, highlighting how unbreakable systems are illusions when human oversight fails. The article went viral, triggering debates, academic research, and corporate audits worldwide. Maya's work reminded the world that every system is only as strong as the people who operate, maintain, and monitor it. The true weak link, often invisible to the eye, but devastating when exploited. Spectre, gender-neutral, disappeared entirely from the public eye. Their motives remained partly mysterious, blending ideology, curiosity, and a desire to expose human flaws rather than profit. Fragments of their digital footprint circulated in private circles, becoming cautionary tales for hackers and security teams alike. Despite leaving chaos in their wake, Spectre's actions underscored a haunting truth. Technology can be flawless, but humans are not, and no system, however advanced, is immune to oversight, fatigue, or moral compromise. The final image lingers on a server room, humming quietly, lights blinking rhythmically, as if nothing had happened. Systems were patched, alerts upgraded, and protocols rewritten. Yet, the human element remained fallible. Fatigue, pressure, and decisions of conscience continued to shape outcomes. Lena, Maya, Elias, Dr. Patel, each carried the echoes of choices past. And for the audience, the lesson resonated. No matter how sophisticated, no system is truly unbreakable when humans, with all their ambition, fear, and ethics, remain part of the chain. In the quiet hum of servers, the story echoed. Trust is fragile, and vigilance eternal.